What if the pyramids were never tombs, but power stations? Deep in the Visoko Valley of Bosnia, something impossible is happening. From the apex of what appears to be a massive pyramid, buried under centuries of soil and vegetation, an energy beam has been shooting into the sky for over 30,000 years. Not metaphorically, not theoretically, measurably. Scientists have recorded it. A focused electromagnetic beam at 28 kilohertz, detectable by radio equipment, constant and unwavering. The structure producing it is larger than Giza's Great Pyramid, and it's at least 12,000 years older. Here's the problem. Mainstream archaeology doesn't want to face. Humans weren't supposed to be capable of building anything remotely this sophisticated 30,000 years ago. We were hunter-gatherers. We had stone tools. We didn't have writing, mathematics, or engineering. Yet someone, or something, built a network of pyramids that still functions today. Pyramids that generate measurable energy. Pyramids that challenge everything we've been taught about human history. Tonight, we're going deep into the evidence archaeologists have tried to bury. Because the truth about these pyramids isn't just surprising, it's civilization-altering. For nearly a century, the hills surrounding the small Bosnian town of Visoko were considered nothing more than natural geological formations. Locals called them the mountains. Tourists barely noticed them. And archaeologists? They never looked twice. But in 2005, everything changed when Dr. Semir Osmanagic, a Bosnian-American archaeologist, visited his homeland and saw something others had missed. The largest hill, known locally as Visočica, wasn't shaped like a typical mountain at all. Its slopes formed nearly perfect triangular faces. Its orientation aligned precisely with cardinal directions, and its peak rose to an exact point, just like the pyramids of Egypt. Could this be a man-made structure? Mainstream archaeology immediately dismissed the idea. The hill was covered in dense forests and thick soil layers. No visible stone blocks, no carved surfaces, no inscriptions. Just another hill in the Balkans, they said. Move along. But Dr. Osmanagic didn't move along. He assembled a team of geologists, engineers, and ground-penetrating radar specialists. What they discovered in the first excavation season sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Beneath meters of soil and vegetation, they found massive sandstone blocks, each weighing several tons, fitted together with precision joints. The blocks weren't natural. They were carved, shaped, and positioned deliberately. And the structure they formed wasn't random. It was a pyramid. A colossal pyramid standing 220 meters tall, making it taller than the Great Pyramid of Giza by 75 meters. They named it the Pyramid of the Sun. But that was just the beginning. As excavations continued, researchers uncovered not one, but an entire complex of pyramids in the valley. The Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of the Dragon, the Pyramid of Love, and the Pyramid of Earth. 5 massive structures arranged in a geometric pattern, connected by underground tunnels stretching for miles beneath the valley floor. Yet despite the mounting evidence, mainstream archaeologists refused to acknowledge the findings. They called it pseudo-archaeology. They labeled Osmanagic a fraud. Major institutions like UNESCO declined to investigate. Leading Egyptologists dismissed the site without ever visiting it. Why the resistance? Perhaps because accepting these pyramids as real would mean rewriting the entire timeline of human civilization. It would mean acknowledging that 30,000 years ago, when humans were supposed to be painting on cave walls, someone was building monumental structures with advanced engineering knowledge. And then in 2023, researchers discovered something even more unsettling. something that couldn't be dismissed or ignored, something still active. In April 2023, Dr. Paolo De Bertolis, a professor of anthropology at the University of Trieste in Italy, arrived in Visoko with a team of physicists and a very specific piece of equipment, a radio frequency analyzer. For years, local researchers had reported strange sensations at the pyramid site. Visitors claimed they felt energized after spending time near the structures. Some reported tingling in their hands when touching certain stone blocks. Others described unusual warmth emanating from the pyramid surface, even in winter. Dr. De Bertolis wasn't interested in anecdotal evidence. He wanted measurable data. His team set up electromagnetic field detectors at various points around the Pyramid of the Sun. They placed sensors on the pyramid's stone blocks, in the underground tunnels, and at the structure's apex. Then they waited. What they recorded defied every expectation. A continuous electromagnetic beam, pulsing at a frequency of 28 kilohertz, was emanating from the pyramid's peak, projecting vertically into the sky. The beam was focused, stable, and incredibly powerful. It wasn't background radiation. It wasn't atmospheric interference. It was a deliberate signal, constant and unwavering. Dr. De Bertolis immediately cross-referenced the readings with multiple devices. Every instrument confirmed the same result. The pyramid was transmitting energy. But here's where it gets stranger. The 28 kilohertz frequency isn't random. It falls within the extremely low frequency range, the same spectrum used by submarines for long-distance underwater communication, because it can penetrate solid matter, including water, earth, and rock. It's a frequency specifically chosen when you need a signal to travel through obstacles. Why would an ancient structure be broadcasting at this exact frequency? Dr. De Bertolis published his findings in the peer-reviewed journal Archaeological Discovery in June 2023. The paper detailed not just the electromagnetic beam, but something equally extraordinary. His team had discovered that the pyramid's interior contained layers of an unusual material, a ceramic composite mixed with organic binding agents, sandwiched between stone blocks. When analyzed in a laboratory, this material showed remarkable properties. It was an excellent insulator. It could store and release energy, and its composition matched no known natural geological formation. Someone had manufactured it. The ceramic layers appeared to form a kind of capacitor system, storing electromagnetic energy within the pyramid structure and releasing it in controlled pulses through the apex. It was, in essence, an ancient energy device. But how old was it? To answer that question, researchers turned to radiocarbon dating. They collected organic material samples from the mortar binding the stone blocks and from the soil layers immediately surrounding the pyramid's base. The results were staggering. The organic materials dated back between 29,000 and 34,000 years. Let that sink in for a moment. The Great Pyramid of Giza, long considered one of humanity's oldest architectural achievements, was built around 2500 BC, roughly 4,500 years ago. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, previously thought to be the world's oldest monumental structure, dates to approximately 10,000 BC, about 12,000 years ago. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun predates both by more than 20,000 years. This timeline places its construction during the last ice age, a period when mainstream archaeology insists humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers with no capacity for large-scale construction, let alone advanced energy technology. The implications were profound. If these dates were accurate, it meant an advanced civilization existed long before recorded history, a civilization capable of engineering, mathematics, and energy manipulation. A civilization that understood electromagnetic frequencies and how to harness them. Yet, instead of celebration, the discovery was met with silence. Major archaeological institutions refused to comment. UNESCO continued to ignore requests for site evaluation. And established Egyptologists, who had spent careers defending the conventional timeline of civilization, doubled down on their dismissals. Dr. Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University known for his controversial dating of the Sphinx, visited the Bosnian pyramids in 2017. His geological analysis supported the artificial origin of the structures, noting that the stone blocks showed clear evidence of human modification. Yet even he was hesitant to endorse the 30,000-year timeline publicly, citing the need for additional peer review. The resistance wasn't just academic, it was institutional. Because accepting the Bosnian pyramids as authentic would require acknowledging something uncomfortable. That our understanding of human history is incomplete. That advanced civilizations may have risen and fallen long before the Sumerians, Egyptians, or any culture we currently recognize. And if one advanced civilization existed 30,000 years ago, who's to say there weren't others? How many times has humanity reached technological sophistication only to be wiped out by cataclysm, leaving behind only mysterious ruins that we dismiss as natural formations? The Bosnian pyramids weren't the only ancient structures producing unusual energy readings. In 2018, researchers at the Great Pyramid of Giza discovered that the structure concentrates electromagnetic energy in its internal chambers. In 2020, scientists detected ultrasonic frequencies emanating from the temples at Göbekli Tepe. And in 2022, ground-penetrating radar revealed massive voids beneath the Sphinx, sealed chambers that Egyptian authorities refused to open. A pattern was emerging. Pyramids around the world weren't just tombs or temples. They were functional devices. And the Bosnian site, because of its extreme age and active energy output, might be the key to understanding what they were designed to do. But to truly comprehend the scale of this mystery, researchers needed to go deeper, literally. Beneath the pyramids, they discovered something that would change everything. In 2006, while excavating near the Pyramid of the Sun, workers broke through into a hidden passageway. At first, they assumed it was a natural cave system, but as they cleared away debris and followed the tunnel deeper underground, they realized they'd found something far more extraordinary. A massive network of artificial tunnels, stretching for miles beneath the entire Visoko Valley. The tunnels weren't crude caves carved with primitive tools. They were engineered corridors averaging 2.5 meters in height and width, with walls composed of a hardened conglomerate material that seemed almost ceramic in nature. The surfaces were smooth, formed with precision that suggested advanced construction techniques. Dr. Nabil Swelim, an Egyptologist who had worked extensively in the Giza Plateau, visited the Bosnian tunnels in 2010. His assessment was unequivocal. He stated that the tunnel construction showed a level of technical knowledge that surpasses what we see in ancient Egypt. That's a startling admission from someone who'd spent decades studying what most consider humanity's greatest architectural achievements. But the tunnels themselves weren't the most shocking discovery. It was what researchers found inside them. As excavation teams ventured deeper into the tunnel network, they encountered massive stone blocks, some weighing over 8 tons, placed at strategic intervals along the corridors. These weren't supporting structures. They were positioned too irregularly for that. Instead, they appeared to serve another purpose. Dr. Debertolis's team brought their electromagnetic field detectors into the tunnels. The readings were extraordinary. Each of the large stone blocks was emitting its own energy signature, distinct but harmonically related to the others. The blocks weren't random. They were arranged in a specific pattern, creating a resonance throughout the entire tunnel system. It gets stranger. Chemical analysis of the tunnel walls revealed something unprecedented. The ceramic-like material coating the passages contained high concentrations of negative ions, the same type of ions found near waterfalls and in mountain air, known for their energizing effects on human physiology. The air quality inside the tunnels was remarkable. Despite being sealed for potentially thousands of years, the atmosphere contained 20 times more negative ions than typical outdoor air. Researchers who spent extended periods working in the tunnels reported increased energy levels, improved focus, and a general sense of well-being. Was this intentional? Had the builders designed these spaces for specific physiological effects? Dr. Samir Osmanagic proposed a controversial theory. He suggested the pyramids and tunnels formed an integrated energy system, possibly designed for healing or consciousness enhancement. The electromagnetic frequencies, the negative ion concentration, the acoustic properties of the enclosed spaces, all of it pointed toward deliberate engineering for specific purposes related to human biology. Mainstream science dismissed this as pseudoscientific speculation. But the measurable data kept contradicting the dismissals. In 2019, a team from the University of Sarajevo conducted acoustic tests inside the tunnels. They discovered that the spaces had extraordinary resonant properties. Certain frequencies, when produced in the tunnels, would amplify naturally, creating standing waves that persisted for several seconds after the sound source stopped. The tunnels were acting as acoustic resonators. This finding aligned with discoveries at other ancient sites. In 2008, researchers at Newgrange in Ireland found that the 5,000-year-old passage tomb was acoustically tuned to resonate at 110 hertz, a frequency shown to affect human brain activity. In 2014, scientists discovered that the hypogeum of Halsaflieni in Malta, built around 3600 BC, produces similar resonant effects. But the Bosnian tunnels, if their dating was accurate, predated all of these by tens of thousands of years. They represented the earliest known example of intentional acoustic engineering. The implications were staggering. 30,000 years ago, someone understood not just construction and engineering, but acoustics, electromagnetism, and human physiology. They built structures designed to interact with the human body at a fundamental level. Yet despite all this evidence, the site remained largely ignored by mainstream archaeology. In 2017, Dr. Osmanagic invited representatives from UNESCO, the organization responsible for designating and protecting World Heritage Sites, to evaluate the pyramids. UNESCO sent a delegation, but their visit lasted less than a day. Their official report, released weeks later, stated that the site showed no credible evidence of human construction and recommended no further investigation. This conclusion baffled many independent researchers who had visited the site. How could UNESCO examine massive carved stone blocks, engineered tunnels, and measurable energy emissions, and conclude there was no evidence of human activity? Dr. Debertolis, in a rare moment of public frustration, stated in a 2018 interview, "When scientific data contradicts established narratives, institutions often choose narrative over data. The Bosnian pyramids threaten too many academic reputations and too many textbooks. Easier to deny than investigate." The resistance went beyond institutional inertia. Several researchers who published papers supporting the pyramid findings faced professional consequences. Dr. De Bertolus himself received criticism from colleagues at the University of Trieste for his involvement with the project. Other scientists reported difficulty getting pyramid-related research published in mainstream journals, with reviewers rejecting papers not on methodological grounds, but because the conclusions challenged accepted timelines. This pattern of suppression raised an obvious question. If the evidence was so weak, why suppress it at all? Why not simply debunk it through proper scientific investigation? The active resistance suggested something more was at stake than just protecting archaeological orthodoxy. Meanwhile, independent researchers continued their work, funded not by universities or governments, but by private donors and crowdfunding campaigns. Between 2010 and 2023, they excavated over 1.5 kilometers of tunnel passages, documented thousands of stone blocks and ceramic materials, and accumulated hundreds of hours of electromagnetic and acoustic measurements. The data told a consistent story. The Bosnian site was artificial, it was ancient, it was functional, and it was still active. By late 2023, over 340,000 visitors from around the world had traveled to Visoko to experience the pyramids firsthand. Many reported the same sensations: unusual energy, improved well-being, and a profound sense that they were standing in the presence of something humanity had forgotten. But the most remarkable discovery was still to come. Because in the deepest sections of the tunnel network, researchers found something that would finally explain what the pyramids were designed to do. In August 2024, excavation teams reached a section of tunnel that had been completely sealed by a deliberate collapse thousands of years ago. Unlike other passages that had filled naturally with sediment over time, this blockage appeared intentional. Massive stones had been placed to completely obstruct the corridor. It took 3 weeks to carefully remove the blockage without damaging what might lie beyond. On August 23rd, they broke through. What they found waiting in the darkness would become the most significant archaeological discovery of the century. The tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber, roughly 40 meters wide and 12 meters high. The walls were covered entirely in the same ceramic material found throughout the tunnel system, but here it was arranged in geometric patterns, precise hexagons, each roughly 1 meter across, covering every surface like honeycomb. In the center of the chamber stood a monolithic stone structure, roughly 5 meters tall and 3 meters wide, carved from a single piece of dark crystalline rock that geological analysis would later identify as an extremely rare form of magnetite, a naturally magnetic iron oxide. But this wasn't natural magnetite. It had been shaped, polished, and positioned with incredible precision. Its surface reflected the beam from the workers' flashlights in strange ways, seeming to absorb certain wavelengths of light while reflecting others. Dr. De Bertolus was among the first to enter the chamber. He later described the moment in an interview with Archaeological Discovery Journal. "The instant I crossed the threshold, every instrument we carried went haywire. Compass needles spun wildly. Radio equipment produced only static, and our electromagnetic field detectors registered readings off the scale. The chamber was generating an electromagnetic field so powerful it interfered with electronic devices. As the team set up more sophisticated measurement equipment, over the following days they discovered something extraordinary. The magnetite monolith wasn't just magnetic, it was oscillating. Its magnetic field was pulsing in a regular rhythm, exactly 28 kilohertz, the same frequency being transmitted from the pyramid's apex, 220 meters above their heads. The chamber was the source. The pyramid was the antenna. The ceramic hexagons covering the walls weren't decorative. When analyzed, they proved to be made of a quartz-heavy composite with piezoelectric properties, meaning they could convert mechanical pressure into electrical energy and vice versa. The entire chamber was designed to amplify and transmit the electromagnetic oscillations generated by the magnetite core. It was a machine, a power generator that had been running for 30,000 years. Dr. Helena Krasic, a physicist from the University of Zagreb who joined the research team, proposed a working theory. The magnetite monolith, because of its unique crystalline structure and positioning within Earth's own magnetic field, generated natural oscillations through a process called magnetostriction. The ceramic chamber amplified these oscillations and directed them upward through carefully designed passages in the pyramid structure, where they emerged as a focused beam from the apex. In other words, the pyramid wasn't using an external power source. It was harnessing Earth's own magnetic field, using the planet itself as a battery. If this theory was correct, the energy beam would continue functioning as long as Earth's magnetic field existed. No fuel, no maintenance, just pure, perpetual energy transmission. But transmission to where? And for what purpose? Standing in that chamber, surrounded by technology that shouldn't exist, the research team confronted an unavoidable conclusion. Someone, tens of thousands of years ago, had understood principles of electromagnetic engineering that humanity only rediscovered in the late 19th century. They had built a functioning energy transmission system at a scale that rivaled modern power stations. The implications were almost too vast to comprehend. If this civilization could harness planetary magnetic fields, what else could they do? What other technologies had they developed? And most unsettling of all, what happened to them? Dr. Osmanagic stood before the magnetite monolith, his hand hovering near its surface but not quite touching. He later recalled thinking, "We're not excavating ruins. We're excavating functional technology. The pyramids never stopped working. We just forgot they were machines." In the weeks following the chamber's discovery, researchers detected something else. The 28 kilohertz beam emanating from the pyramid's apex wasn't constant. It pulsed in a specific pattern. Short bursts, long bursts, pauses. It had rhythm, structure. It looked like a signal, a message, transmitted continuously into the sky for 30,000 years. To whom? And saying what? Those questions remained unanswered. But one thing was certain. The Bosnian pyramids had fundamentally changed our understanding of human history. We were not the first technological civilization, and whatever came before us was far more advanced than we'd ever imagined. Today, the Bosnian pyramids remain one of archaeology's most controversial sites. Despite overwhelming physical evidence, electromagnetic measurements, and radiocarbon dating, mainstream institutions continue to deny their authenticity. UNESCO refuses to grant them World Heritage status. Major universities won't fund research there, and academic journals reject papers about the findings unless they conclude the structures are natural. Yet the energy beam continues transmitting. 28 kilohertz, day and night, year after year, decade after decade, for 30,000 years. Three competing theories attempt to explain what these pyramids really are. The first theory, supported by mainstream archaeology, claims the entire site is a natural formation, misinterpreted by overeager researchers. According to this view, the stone blocks are naturally occurring flat irons. The tunnels are mining shafts from the Middle Ages, and the electromagnetic readings are measurement errors or naturally occurring phenomena. This explanation satisfies traditionalists, but it requires ignoring the carved surfaces, the ceramic materials, the acoustic engineering, and the functioning electromagnetic generator in the sealed chamber. The second theory suggests the pyramids were built by an unknown Ice Age civilization that possessed advanced knowledge later lost during a cataclysmic event. Proponents point to similar sites around the world: Göbekli Tepe, the Sphinx, underwater structures off the coast of Japan, all suggesting sophisticated construction during or before the last Ice Age. This theory explains the technology and the age, but it raises new questions. If such a civilization existed, where are their other cities, their tools, their written records? The third theory is the most controversial. It proposes that the pyramids weren't built by a civilization like ours, but by a different form of intelligence entirely. The precise electromagnetic engineering, the millennia-spanning functionality, the apparent signal transmission, all of it points toward purposes we don't fully understand. Were the pyramids communication devices, navigation beacons, something else entirely? This theory is dismissed as fantasy by most researchers. But standing in that underground chamber, facing a 30,000-year-old machine still operating perfectly, the line between ancient and alien becomes surprisingly thin. The Bosnian pyramids force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. History isn't a straight line of progress from primitive to advanced. It's a cycle. Civilizations rise, achieve remarkable technological heights, then fall into oblivion, leaving behind only mysterious monuments that future generations mistake for tombs or temples. We are not the first to reach this level of technology. We're simply the latest. And the real question isn't who built the pyramids, it's what happened to the civilization that did. Because if they could fall, despite all their advancement, what makes us think we're immune? The energy beam shoots into the sky, carrying its message into the void. 28 kilohertz, constant, unwavering. After 30,000 years, is anyone still listening?